Hey everyone, my name is Rooster and welcome back to Mechabellum. In today's video, it is all going to be about Elite Spec, and well, we've got a tournament games on our hands against none other than Math is Might, who, often gives us some very close games, and this one is no different. Now, Elite Spec, Sledgehammer Crawler, I mean, one of the better Elite packs, if I'm being honest. You get level 1 chaff, which is always very nice, kind of avoids feeding the opponent's, chaff clear too much in the early game. And I'm going to be up against Hound Ball here from Math is Might with a Typhoon Specialist. Now, initially I thought to myself, do I bring back a very old kind of defensive setup against Steel Ball openers, which is this central defense where you're 4 squares from the tower on the inside with the sledgehammers, and then you're 2 squares off here with this crawler that is 5 up from the tower. And what this does is it pulls basically any units no matter where they are. So this one, for instance, also would have gotten pulled, as you can see. Now, the reason I'm going to be changing my setup is because I thought to myself, knowing Math is Might, I really don't think he's going to be playing an aggressive setup here. I know that he loves to play more defensive. I know that with Hounds and with Chamber Compression still being decent, he might end up going for something like that. I know that he loves playing Giants and Titans, and especially when I'm Elite Specialist, going for that type of strat makes a lot of sense. So I thought to myself, I'm going to play aggressive myself because I don't want to end up playing Standard on Elite. That's still kind of hard to pull off, I feel. And I'd be much more comfortable if my opponent is playing around that towers that I am playing aggressive on the Specialist. So that's why there's a slight change there at the end. Now, it does mean that this Steel Ball that's all the way on the right catches me off guard, and it will end up getting my tower, sadly. But at the very least, I'm going to be able to dictate the pace a little bit more, go for some proactive plays, and, not perhaps fall into some of the issues that Elite Spec can have long-term in long-range engagements, often related to your high-level chaff, and just, it being a lot more difficult to buy a bunch of late fangs without, feeding your opponent a whole bunch of experience. Steel Ball's on the right side, going to get in here, take my towers, I get debuffed. It means that I will be losing, and sadly, it means that the other Steel Ball, which profits from that debuff, gets 2 level 2 Arclights worth of experience and instantly levels up. So right off the bat, we have some of the main issues with Elite Spec kind of showcasing themselves, where you feed a lot and your opponent immediately gets some pretty scary level 2 units, on round 2. Now, whether or not they will decide to take that and, pay the 100 is a different question. And we immediately do get unit reinforcements here on round 2. I'm pretty happy with the double level 1 fangs, to be honest. That's always a great thing to get on Elite because you don't have access to it yourself, and it immediately protects kind of my towers from any air flanks. I also will not be respecting this right side too much because I thought to myself, maybe my opponent just ends up selling that Steel Ball, and I don't want, to lose a whole bunch of deployments here kind of into the void, because I'm losing the left side currently, and I want to make sure that I reinforce that left side. I buy a Phoenix, as we all do. Opponent does the exact same thing. It is a classic, right? Go for an air unit on round 2, or at the very least, make sure that you've got the anti-air situation covered on round 2. Sadly, my opponent does call the bluff on the right side, so the Steel Balls will be able to get in. A level 2 Crawler on that right side would have been enough to stop a level 2 Steel Ball, but sadly a level 1 Fang isn't. And so, yeah, I do get debuffed. Now, maybe, just maybe, I can still get a win here if this Phoenix manages to survive, which it looks like it will. The late Fang there doing a great job of stalling, although if I have a look at the enemy Phoenix, if I can find it at least, I think it did level up immediately by killing an Arclight and 1 level 2 Phoenix. And so, yeah, that still isn't ideal. It's nice on Elite if you can get a lot of tempo early and kind of prevent your opponent from getting round win so that you really press your level advantage. But right now, that isn't really happening, right? My level 2 Phoenix is immediately now matched. My opponent has a level 2 Steel Ball as a threat against my level 2 Arclights. So it's a pretty even game so far. And yeah, I was a little bit afraid of how things were shaping up. Opponent goes for Chamber Compression on round 3. Previously, it would be a lot easier to do this on round 2, but after the nerf, it does cost 300, so it's a little bit more difficult to get into. Still a good tech, though. I mean, that infinite scaling is a scary thing for sure. And as we will see, this Arclight I added, I did give it range enhancement to contest the hounds and kind of try to win by outranging them. Currently doesn't have anything to protect it, so it will get one shot there by the fully charged up chamber compression. Left side is doing all right, but it looks like these Phoenixes will take out mine and will not be able to win here. Arclight's doing their very best, but the chamber compression round simply too strong. And this is where the scary stuff begins, because if we have a look at the hounds now, a lot of them have managed to level up. And that's not what you want to see. Of course, chamber compression is good even on level 1 hounds, but, you know, the damage surely improves a lot once they get those initial level ups. So yeah, we take more damage. Now we enter round number 4, kind of end of the early game, with Shield Airdrop and Orbital Bombardment being the two cards that kind of stand out for me. Of course, Shield Airdrop is nice, and it does kind of block Orbital Bombardment, or at least partially so. So I was thinking, do I want to invest, you know, the 100 extra here in Orbital Bombardment? I'm not entirely sure. It does look very good into my opponent's board. I mean, if I can get rid of that Phoenix for a round, I'm probably quite likely to win. And there's a bunch of good targets that I can hit as well. Even if my opponent goes for Shield Airdrop, which we can see that they did, they can't protect everything. And I'm not convinced that they're going to be willing to invest, you know, 100 extra into a barrier of their own. Because at that point, they kind of matched, you know, the price of the Orbital Bombardment. And if they lose their shields, well, then there's no real point, I guess. So yeah, I decided to go for the Orbital Bombardment here, kind of hoping that, hey, maybe I can break the shield, maybe I can hit a couple of Hound Packs and get back my advantage, because early game is still not exactly Elite's strong suit, right? I don't have enough cash here to be able to buy everything that I would like to buy. Getting techs early on my carries is expensive, so if I can get through by using a spell here, that would be a great thing. Right side still kind of just being protected by a Fang and a Crawler. There is a Hound there, but a nice missile will catch those, and perhaps the Crawlers will be able to get a meaningful debuff. We can see that the Orbital also is doing a very good job right now. I managed to hit a couple of Hound Packs, which means that my Arclights are able to actually do something. One Phoenix still manages to survive. Hopefully we'll be able to get rid of that, because I don't want to lose by a lack of anti-air. Thankfully, we do take it out. I can't quite break the shield. Would have been nice. One more shot would have done it. But at the very least, I get Arclight levels. I win a round. I stabilize. I get more money. Now we have unit reinforcements on top of things. Level 3 Phoenix available. And I think we've done a decent job here of kind of evening out the score in the early game. Relatively even game so far. Hounds are double teched though at this stage. And if we have a look at the unit reinforcements, the thing that I was wondering about most is this melting point. Now, it doesn't do a lot. Of course, it would potentially counter the Sabertooth, but the main reason I pick it up here is because it can be a nice thing to have on Elite, just for the unlock, right? Opponent playing Titans like a mountain or a factory or fortress, whatever it may be, is quite likely and the common strat against Elite, because it can be hard for Elite to deal with giants. So having the melting points unlocked might enable me to kind of, you know, have that available if need be. Now, I will end up selling it because I really wanted to keep building my line of Arclights. And I kind of felt like I needed the cash for it, so that's why it gets sold. Now, I did kind of think about the Sabertooth showing up somewhere. I just wasn't entirely sure where. It could have been on the right. It could have been in the middle. Looks like it would have been in the middle, so if I would have left my melting point there, we would have been in a lot better situation. And I kind of regretted not doing so. But, you know, sometimes you make gambles to be able to get stronger on different parts of the board, and here I decided to make the sacrifice to get more Arclights, and it's not gonna pay off because 2 of my Arclights get stuck in the middle, and yeah, we can see that 2 more Phoenixes got added by my opponent, and suddenly things are, you know, shaping up pretty badly again for us. Mathis Might with a good counterplay, and it's a really back and forth situation so far, right? They win a round, I win a round, they win a round, and now I'm gonna have to find a way of dealing with this guy. Now, the problem is, as we have a look at these cards. Smoke Bomb, by the way, did get nerfed. It only lasts for 1 round now, which is lovely. Very good change. Efficient Light can be a nice card, but around 6, it's a little bit late, I think, to get good value out of. So I decided to skip because, again, there's a lot of things I want to do. And mainly, I want to get DPS. Right now, I need to make sure that I can kill the Sabertooth, and I need to make sure that I can kill the enemy Phoenixes. The reason I don't go into Melting Point is because I was afraid of the opponent, you know, heavily investing into Phoenixes. If I have a look at this tech bar, you know, that is a proper carry Phoenix setup, and Phoenixes will beat Melting Points relatively easy when the game, you know, goes long. There really aren't any targets right now for Melting Points to shoot at, aside from the Sabertooth, which can easily be sold, and then I have a Melting Point into, I mean, Hounds, Phoenixes, and Steel Balls that just won't do anything. So instead, I feel like my best option here that still is able to kill the Sabertooth if it remains is to go into Phoenixes myself. So that's exactly what we do. I buy 2 blue Phoenixes, I give him range so that I have the advantage against Mathis Might's Phoenixes, and then I hope for the best. Thankfully, it seems like the Arclight this time around will do a bit better. I did go for a barrier because I thought maybe my opponent would try to missile my Sledgehammers, and I hope the Phoenixes can win out, because otherwise we are in a lot of trouble. Right side is going to manage to get in. A couple of crawlers there on the tower. A debuff would help me greatly, and indeed it will. So it looks like I will manage to get a small victory here, and perhaps manage to get some levels on my Phoenixes. Indeed, that's at least another level 3 Phoenix. And the reason why this is important is because my opponent now could go for Fortress Anti-Air. And that's kind of the problem, right, with Elite is... while Phoenixes against Fortress AA is a sketchy matchup. You can win it, especially if you have something like Quantum Reassembly and Launcher Overload. I even do run EMP. But, you know, it very much depends on how easily the fortresses level up. Does the opponent get, you know, items for the fortresses? How well do the missiles land on the first round that it comes out? And indeed, we will get to see, you know, whether or not this will work for them, because triple Fortress AA has now been picked up on round 7. Javelin available as well. Both of us pick it up. Now, for me, it's not quite as good, but I thought that for that price, it's probably still worth trying to get rid of this Phoenix and maybe, you know, a bit of chaff and a Hound Pack, just to try and even things out. Obviously, this spell here is better for my opponent because there's a lot of clumped up units, and, well, I've got triple Arclight in the middle, which initially I tried to beacon backwards with the temp speed. It's also round 7, so I decide to take a lone because I feel like this game could end pretty quickly, and this is an influential round for sure, right? I was semi-expecting fortresses to come out. I thought the Javelin could be a big problem for me, so I really need to make sure I don't just take 2k damage here because of everything lining up. Double defense enhancement already picked up for Mathis Might as well, and Subterranean Blitz on the crawlers. And here at the very end, you can see me going to a different pack of units on the right. And the reason I did this is because I thought, well, the triple Arclight is a very obvious target, but they could also go for the double Arclight and the Phoenix right behind it to try and take out, you know, Chaff Clear and a very important carry on my end. Sadly, I kind of overthink things, and, well, it was a gamble, to be honest, and I gamble wrong. So, yeah, kind of wish I stayed with my initial beacon there. It certainly would have helped. And I lose triple Arclight instantly. Right side, though, I added a Phoenix, and it looks like I should be able to get a debuff there, with some of the bigger Phoenixes still alive to perhaps take down the Fortress. At the very least, even if I do end up losing this round, it won't be, you know, 2k damage. And I should be able to get another round in without the Javelin being offered. Hopefully, we'll be able to do a little bit better. And now we also know what we're up against, right? Sadly, debuff there not quite helping out. We can see the Fortress does grab a level. We'll have to see if the other Fortresses manage to get a level or not. It doesn't seem to be the case, which bodes well. And because they didn't level at this stage, I feel relatively confident just kind of keep investing into the Phoenixes. Because I gave them range already, they're high level, I have Quantum Reassembly available. Selling out of them is not really an option in my opinion, because there's too many to sell. Even though I do have Melting Point unlocked, my opponent could always go back into carry Phoenix, and that would be a massive problem for me. So I decide to go back or go deeper into Phoenixes and yeah, go for that quantum reassembly. Hopefully overwhelm the right side. That debuff has been working quite well. And well, that was the game plan. I did go for loose formation last round to try and bully the Chamber Hounds. So Mustang here was kind of forced from Math's Might. That's always a nice play you can make, going for loose formation against these type of Chaffdeer boards. It forces out Mustang. It prevents your opponent from being able to build, you know, more fortresses, as they really have to respect the lack of Chaffdeer against this specific tech. Missile Strike on the left, just taking out a Hound Pack and some Crawlers. And opponents here, by the way, getting a Nano Repair. I did talk about items, Amp Core and Nano Repair being offered on a level 2 Fortress. It could get a little bit sketchy, but I was willing to risk it because I do have a lot of Phoenixes and it's exceptionally strong DPS for sure. Right side still a little bit under defended, perhaps. We'll have to see how the Mustang will perform. It's only one Arclight on my end with, you know, 2 Crawler packs, so it's not exceptionally well defended. And if it dies, well, I'm not going to get through all of that chaff. Missile Strike there does take out a bunch of Crawlers, which is lovely. And I can see Phoenixes also locking onto the Fortresses. Sadly, though, a couple of Phoenixes instantly got one-shot. There they go. Fortresses grabbing levels. Will I be able to even get through the Nano Repair Blue Fortress? As, well, my opponent here did also go for range on the Phoenixes. That was what I was a bit afraid of, right? And don't quite want to invest a ton into melting points, but maybe I should. Things aren't going too poorly, but the right side sadly collapsed. That Arclight didn't manage to get rid of all of the small stuff. So I will end up losing this round. Quantum Reassembly Phoenixes, and not quite enough time there to all spawn back. And now I find myself down to 700 hit points. Round number 9, Smoke Bomb shows up. Orbital is back off cooldown, which is great. The first shield out drop was still on cooldown for Math, but he gets another one here to be able to kind of block the Orbital. Also still had 2 bubbles still left alive that he purchased himself. But, you know, if the Orbital can get through, if I add some more Phoenixes and we can break those shields, perhaps we have a good chance here of striking back. And we kind of need to, because at 700 hit points, it's unlikely I will manage to tank another round loss without losing the game as well. Smoke Bomb is what I decided to pick up. I really want to make sure that, you know, every little chance I have at getting a round win, I take. So Smoke Bomb felt like a decent, you know, option for that. I expected my opponent to go for another Fortress here on the right side, hoping to catch it into the smoke. Same thing with this one in the middle, and really push on this right side tower, because I could see that it was still relatively undefended, and if I can get that debuff, 9 seconds, I should probably win the round off of it. More Mustangs are being added by Math's Might. Level 3 Fortress with Nano now, though. My response is just more Phoenixes, a couple ones all the way in front to tank the initial Fortress AA. They will respawn anyway with Quantum Reassembly, so this felt like the best thing to do. Even more Phoenixes being added. EMP now also picked up just to try and shut down that Fortress AA. And yeah, I'm hoping that I can get in on this side with the addition of the Phoenixes and the smoke. And yeah, I mean, at this point, we kind of just pray that everything works out. Phoenix thankfully does manage to lock onto that Fortress in the middle, so that one will not be firing its AA barrage. Insane barrage in the middle, by the way, somehow taking down a level 3 Phoenix immediately, which is relatively rare. Right side does seem to be doing well, and it looks like the Crawlers will end up getting through and getting that debuff that I was aiming for. And hopefully with that, we manage to get through this level 3 Fortress. Sadly, EMP does not turn off item effects, so this still will be healing with the Nano Repair, but as I have an entire army of Phoenixes shooting at it, it will eventually fall, and it looks like we managed to get a round victory. We'll have to see how much damage it actually is, because respawned Phoenixes will only deal 25 damage a pop, but it looks like we did a good amount, about 1,000 damage there, and perhaps another good round win here could mean that, you know, we pull off the comeback. Round number 10, more unit reinforcements. I was really unhappy about Marksman being offered here, because if my opponent runs AA and EMP, which they do, that could be a massive issue for the Phoenixes, preventing them from respawning. And yeah, that's exactly what Math is Might goes for. I decided to pick up the Vortexes. They're free, so I don't have to invest a lot. I still have a bunch of money available to try and go for a play. And again, my main idea is to try and punish this right side. You know, this debuff has definitely been helping me throughout the game. If I can get it again by just moving in all of my units, then hopefully I can still grab a victory. I decided to go for the 4th tech and the final tech on Phoenixes with Launcher Overload. Even though there is a risk of AA Marksman catching them, I feel like the bonus DPS is just mandatory here. And it should also allow me to get through all of the smaller stuff a bit, you know, quicker, perhaps get a bigger debuff and also be able to deal more damage during the debuff once I get it. So that was the plan moving into this. I go for a deep flank crawler here to try and pull away as many units as possible and really open up that tower. As we can see, it is still very much undefended. And yeah, I mean, at this point, I just kind of cross my fingers and hope that this play works out. Temp range, temp speed. Mandatory opponent is going to be picking up the same thing. That fortress in the middle still, though, level 3, it was a pain to deal with last round. And I kind of need to basically kill every other thing on the field before I can meaningfully take this down. Let's have a look, though. That right side pool, it does do a decent job. Vortex is getting close to the tower, but the late crawler pack seems to arrive at exactly the wrong moment, as none of my Vortexes managed to lock on. They will end up dying. Maybe the Arclight with the help of the Phoenixes can still lock on, but the left side is looking really, really poorly. As the marksmen with the EMP have started taking down some Phoenixes, I see very few quantum reassemblies triggering. I get debuffed myself on the left side, and with only a small amount of Phoenixes left, that will be the end of the game. And we sadly end up losing. Yeah, didn't quite work out. This right side, it was very open, and I think we should be able to get the debuff, but it just didn't quite work out. I probably should have gone for a bit bigger of a flank, and maybe I should have just purchased at least one melter to be able to deal with this big fortress in the middle, because it is really tanking a lot. I think if it didn't have nano repair, maybe I would have been able to just kill it, but the nano repair just makes it such a monster. And so we can try and replay the round. There's a couple things I would like to change. I will again pick the Vortex, but instead of putting all 3, I think I will just put 2 next to one another here. I'm also going to slightly tweak the mobile beacon to try and avoid any units within its path, because as long as there is no units within the path, the units will keep following it and hopefully get closer to this tower. And then the other Vortex I'm going to put all the way up in the corner, and I think I'm even going to add double crawlers next to it to really try and stall and pull away the units as much as possible. Temp range, temp speed going to be very important. I think I'm going to end up selling that sledgehammer for a little bit more cash. And then I want to have at least one melting point here with the range enhancement to try and take down this fortress. The other ones are pretty easy to deal with, but this one just takes way too long. So that is, I think, what I'm going to be aiming for. Aside from that, I mean, I don't think we need to do a ton more. I still have 700 left, which is a good amount. I could just level all of my Phoenixes, maybe level up all of my Arclights, and then perhaps go for some missiles here. Maybe here and there. And then hope for the best. See if this works or not. You know, aside from that, I'm not too sure what I should have done. The bigger flank definitely does make sense, just opening the tower even more. Hopefully this time around, it does seem like the crawlers will not be in time. If I can get that debuff, then we're in business. Especially if the Arclights are still alive, I can get through all of that chaff. Then hopefully the melting point locks on. Indeed it will. And as it dies, this looks a lot better. And indeed, that would have been enough. I think we needed just under 1500 damage, and this will be plenty with the help of the melter. 1850, so it was a winnable round. A couple of tweaks required. I mean, I did mention before, right? The reason I picked up that melting point is because of problematic giants. I should have simply gone back to it, even if just for the one. This guy is just too difficult to deal with, and a single melting point would have fixed that issue. The right side was a little bit unfortunate, I think. I did have the right idea, trying to punish that tower as it was undefended, but I just should have gone for a bigger flank commit over there. Now, obviously, if my opponent went for a bunch of missiles to cover the flank against this type of stuff, you know, we would have been in trouble, but it at least showcases a potential victory in this tournament game. Anyway, if you like this video, please leave a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comments below what you thought about it. And yeah, have you been playing a bunch of Elite on the current patch? I have had some trouble with it for sure. I feel like more people are playing Giant Spec and I just end up in painful scenarios more often than I used to. But I'm still willing to pick it. I think it's a lot of fun. Either way, if you want to stay up to date with my latest content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to see me play live, check me out on Twitch. With that being said, take care guys and see you in the next video. Bye-bye.